Are you muted? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I believe remote side needs mute. Can you guys hear me okay?
Is anybody else hearing a lot of feedback?
I'm going to just hear my own voice.
Okay, which is beautiful, but it sounds horrible here. Your voice is beautiful, but there's a lot of feedback and other fun stuff.
Okay, I don't know how to fix that, do you?
No, not at all. Okay, I turned it down a little bit. Maybe that'll make it better.
Okay. Do I need to turn mine down a little bit?
Yeah, try that.
Like on my computer? Is that better?
Maybe. It's our TV in here, so if it doesn't stop, we'll just unhook the TV and go with my computer screen.
Okay.
Okay, you're okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So this morning we are going to do just a quick little webinar here on phonological awareness and phonemic awareness. If you have experience with teaching reading, or you've been through letters training, you've been working literacy for a long time, it's probably going to be a review. Probably not a lot of new information. We will have the videos of these webinars, as well as the PowerPoint will be up on the website. So you'll be able to access all of the materials and the PowerPoint we're going to show this morning. All right, so let's dig right in. Today we're going to talk about phonological awareness and phonemic awareness. We want to make sure that everybody understands the difference between those two terms. Phonological awareness is like the big umbrella. Anything that has to do with sounds falls underneath phonological awareness. Phonemic awareness is the awareness of individual sounds. So phonemic awareness falls under the umbrella of phonological awareness, and that's what we hope to get through with this video today. Just kind of that background knowledge and that just general understanding of phonological awareness and phonemic awareness and the difference between the two. So let's start off here. How come my PowerPoint isn't moving, Michelle? Give me 1 second. I apologize. I go to share screen, go to my desktop. Share screen. This one, I think. And now go. There you go. Okay. Okay, sorry. Okay, can you still hear me? All right, so, sorry. Let's start off with phonological awareness. What do you think it is, all right? When we think about phonological awareness, we're talking about sounds. Phonology means sounds. And so phonological awareness is just that awareness of sounds, that words are made up of sounds, that our language is made up of sounds. When you think about how we talk in English, we co-articulate, or we run all of our sounds together. So when I say, what do you think it is? It sounds like I'm saying one whole word. A student who is phonologically aware will be able to tell you that that's a group of words made up into that sentence. So what do you think it is? 6 words, right? That's a phonological awareness skill, that awareness that sounds make up words. Just to clarify some terms, the definition of phonological awareness, the ability to attend to the sounds of speech in language. Right? So that awareness, or my ability to attend to the sounds in our language. It's a more inclusive term than phonemic awareness. Like I said at the beginning, phonological awareness is like the umbrella, right? Phonological awareness is the big term, and phonemic awareness is one of the things that hangs down from the umbrella. So phonological awareness phonemic awareness is a part of phonological awareness. Oftentimes those two terms get interchanged, and they really do have different meanings. So phonological awareness, anything to do with sounds. Phonemic awareness, individual sounds. So when we're talking phonological awareness, when students can identify similar sounds in words, when they can identify words that rhyme, okay, when they can count syllables, when they can tell you how many words in a sentence, those things all fall under phonological awareness. So when we say kids can identify words that rhyme, R-H-Y-M-E, those are words or phrases that end in the same sound. So activities like this, do these words rhyme? Cat, sat, bat. Can the student identify that those words end the same, that those are rhyming words? That's a phonological awareness task. That is an easier task than asking a student, tell me a word that rhymes with pig, where they have to be able to come up with their own word. That's still a rhyming task, but at a higher level. Okay, a higher level of thinking has to go into that. We also talk about alliteration. That's a phonological awareness task. Alliteration is when our words all begin with the same sound, or when we use the same sounds in words. Okay, so I think back to when I was a first grade teacher, and we used to sing this song when we were doing the B sound, and it was big black bugs bouncing balls on Bobby's bed. That's alliteration. Okay, helping the student to be able to identify that those words begin with the same sound, alliteration. Silly Sally books are a great example of alliteration. Another term that you hear us use in phonological awareness is the term syllable. All right, so when we think about syllables, we think about how many beats in a word, right? So if I say pumpkin, I know I have pumpkin. I have 2 beats in that word. Your syllable is the unit of pronunciation having a vowel sound. So it's the vowel and what comes with the vowel. So with or without surrounding consonants forming the whole or part of a word, right? So when I think about syllables and I look at the word caterpillar, how many syllables do we hear in caterpillar? Right? Caterpillar, caterpillar, 4 syllables, right? My syllable is the vowel. The people here got that right. The vowel and what comes with the vowel, okay? The vowel sound and what comes with the vowel. Butterfly, butterfly. 3 syllables, 3 chunks of sound around a vowel. If I have a word like sip, 1 syllable. Cupcake, cupcake, 2 syllables. Apple, apple, 2 syllables, all right? So a syllable, again, is unit of pronunciation having 1 vowel sound with or without consonants forming the whole or part of a word, all right? So your syllables. Phonological awareness. So just to kind of try to tie that together, phonological awareness, it's our sensitivity or our awareness of sounds, awareness of word structure in our language. So we can have phonological awareness activities at the word level, the syllable level, and the sound level. Oftentimes we hear, does it really matter? Does it really matter if a kid can rhyme, or does it really matter if they have phonemic awareness skills? And the answer to that is, or I'm sorry, I want to slide ahead. So does phonological awareness develop naturally? The answer to that is no, it doesn't develop naturally. All right, our brains are not hardwired to read and write. And so there are cultures out there that don't have a written language system. And so they're not aware of phonemes, all right? Speech is this continuous stream, and breaking words into parts is not a natural task. We don't speak. If I were to say a sentence, if I were to say, it is a good day, I don't speak in phonemes or in sounds. I don't say it is a good day, right? We don't talk like that. That's not natural. And so, but we need those skills to be able to read, and we need those skills to be able to write. So does it develop naturally? No. It's something we have to teach kids. Is it easier for some kids than other kids? Absolutely. Students who have a strong oral language skills when they come to school, this might develop easier for them than for those kids who have very limited oral language skills, who haven't been read to, who haven't been singing songs and nursery rhymes. It might be more difficult for them. Then, when does phonological awareness develop? Okay, it develops slowly from preschool until our kids become readers. All right, so it develops slowly. And again, it depends on your oral language experiences before you ever even come to preschool. When we think about phonological awareness, that awareness of sounds, it has a reciprocal relationship with reading. And so if I have really strong phonological awareness skills, or I'm really good with sounds, that helps me to begin reading. And once I start reading, that helps my phonological awareness skills develop also. So there's that reciprocal relationship between reading and phonological awareness. So, is it necessary that children develop phonological awareness skills? The answer is yes, absolutely. We get this question a lot. Who cares? Who cares if they can't do sounds, right? If they can recognize some words, if they can recognize words by sight, who cares about sounds? Well, we have to care about sounds. We have to make sure that our students are phonologically aware, that they're aware of sounds, because they're going to eventually encounter words that they don't have stored in their long-term memory, that they just don't know by sight. And so they have to be able to attack those words. If they don't know anything about sounds, they can't do that. So they get into those upper grades where they start having those great big words and they don't know what to do about it. So yes, it's necessary for kids to have phonological awareness skills. Phonological awareness skills are highly predictive of future reading success. When you think about our screening tools that we use with our kindergartners, letter sounds, letter names, phoneme segmentation, those are all predictive of future reading success. And again, it helps with our reading. The more phonologically aware we are, the better chance we have of becoming a reader. All right, so some just general principles when we're working on sounds, working on phonological awareness, explicit instruction, like we talked about in our trainings a couple weeks ago, how important that explicit instruction is, the modeling, doing some together, guiding them, letting them do independent work. With phonological awareness skills and phonological awareness instruction, that's key. We begin with sounds only. So we want to get them into print as soon as we can, but we want to start with sounds, getting them aware of sounds. We want it to be multisensory. So this morning we'll look at some different manipulatives that teachers can use when they're working with phonological tasks. We want it multisensory. We want them moving things. We want them engaging their senses. Phonological awareness skills we teach from the simple ones to the more complex, with this most simple being how many words in a sentence. Can they break a sentence apart? To the most complex is when we start to work with individual sounds in words. Pronouncing sounds correctly is key, is so very, very important. I was working or observing in a kindergarten classroom a few years ago, and this kindergarten teacher was a lovely kindergarten teacher, and it went something like this. She was going ta, 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 and then she asked her class, tell me the first sound you hear in the word tiger, right? And she had some students in there who just couldn't do that because tiger doesn't start with ta. Tiger starts with a t, okay? And so it's not a ta-iger. So how we pronounce those sounds is so very, very important, all right? So with our teachers, we need to make sure that they are pronouncing sounds correctly. Guided practice, and then the feel of sounds in the mouth. So when we think about how a sound feels, we want kids to know that. So everybody just make the sound for the first sound in the word van. What does it feel like? Your teeth should be right there on your bottom lip, and you can feel kind of that vibration. So when we have students who we're working on phonological awareness, those are the things we want to talk about. What does that sound feel like? What are your teeth doing? What are your lips doing? Okay, what's your air, your breath doing? So we also want them to be able to tell the difference between sounds, like the first sound in the word fan what feels different between and v. Okay, can you feel the difference between those sounds? We make them the exact same way. My teeth are on my lip. They're both continuant sounds, so they both keep going. The difference is I have that vibration with that I don't have with. All right, so we want to teach kids how sounds feel also. That's important. So, like I said at the beginning, phonemic awareness then falls underneath the big umbrella of phonological awareness. Phonemic awareness is awareness of individual sounds, that words are made up of individual sounds. We put sounds together to make words. That's phonemic awareness. So what's the big deal? We hear about it all the time. This is a quote from Arian Nunes. Phonemic awareness measured at the beginning of kindergarten is one of the two best predictors of how well children will learn to read during their first 2 years of school, along with letter knowledge. So phonemic awareness and letter knowledge are the best predictors of how well our kids are going to be reading at the end of first grade. So that's a pretty big deal. That tells us a lot, all right? It tells us that if they're not there, we need to be intervening if we want them to be readers. Some other research on phonemic awareness. Kids who fall behind in first grade have a 1 in 8 chance of ever catching up to grade level. That's huge. Again, phonemic awareness or phoneme awareness is one of the best indicators we have for success between kindergarten and second grade. And phonemic awareness is more highly related to learning to read than IQ tests, readiness tests, and listening comprehension. Right? So phonemic awareness, very, very important. To clarify some terms, when we say phonemic awareness, what we're talking about is that awareness that a word is made up of sounds, that words are composed of separate sounds. So phonemic awareness is the ability to identify those sounds in a word and to manipulate those sounds. So to break those sounds apart, to put sounds together, and to be able to change sounds. All that falls under phonemic awareness, that I'm aware that words are made up of sounds. Within phonemic awareness then, another term that is very important is the word phoneme. Okay, a phoneme is a sound, an individual sound. It's the smallest unit of speech that can be used to make one word different from another. So if we think about a word like the word top, okay, top has 3 phonemes, 3 individual sounds. T, ah, p, right? What if I add a s to the beginning of it? S, t, ah, p. Now I have the word stop. So I've changed, by adding a sound, I've changed the meaning, completely changed the meaning of those 2 words, even though there's only one sound that's different, right? So your phonemes are your individual units of sound. We have 44 phonemes in the English language. So you might be thinking, how can we have 44 sounds, individual units of sound in the English language when we only have 26 letters? How can that be? Well, phonemes represent the sounds. And so when I think of a word like the word thing, okay? So in the word thing, the first sound I hear is a th, and that sound is made with 2 letters, T and H. Okay, 2 letters together to make one sound. Right? So we have consonant phonemes. We have 25 consonant phonemes. We have 18 vowel phonemes. Vowels are A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y, right? All right, well, not always. What's the vowel sound in the word boy? Right, it is oi, right? Is that an A, E, I, O, U, or Y? So our vowels, it's so important that our teachers understand what a phoneme is, that a phoneme is a sound. It's not a letter, okay? It's a sound. So the vowel sound in the word boy is oi, okay? The vowel sound in the word thing is I. So we have 25 consonant sounds, we have 18 vowel sounds, and then we also have that schwa sound. That's that empty vowel sound. It makes an or an I depending on the word. All right, let's practice a little bit then with phonemes. Remember, we're thinking sound, not spelling. That phoneme is the smallest unit of sound. It's not the letter, it's the smallest unit of sound. So if I have a word like the word bat, I have b, at. I have 3 phonemes, 3 individual units of sound. Okay? So how many phonemes? I just want you to kind of practice this on your own, and then I'll give you the answer. All right? So the first one is dog. There are 3 phonemes in the word dog. There are 3 sounds. D, a, g, dog. Jump. 4 phonemes in the word jump. J, a, m, p, jump. Fox. All right, this is one that sometimes people like to argue about, but there are 4 sounds, there are 4 phonemes in the word fox, 4 sounds. F, a, k, s, 4 sounds. Only 3 letters spell it, but there are 4 sounds. F, a, k, s. Right, do the word shoe. There are 2 sounds or 2 phonemes in the word shoe. Sh, oo. All right, there are 4 letters in that word, but there are only 2 sounds. Sh, oo. How about chair? Ooh, that's a tricky one. All right, chair. I say there are 3 phonemes in chair. Ch, e, er. 3 phonemes. Some people will argue that air is an R controlled, but our R controlleds are R, or, R and or, right? And so air is not an R controlled vowel. We hear the R sound on the end, okay? All right, the next one is 3. How many phonemes in 3? There are 3 phonemes in 3. E, 3. How about cake? 3 phonemes in cake. K, a, k. Pencil. There are 6 phonemes in pencil. P, e, n, s, I, o. 6 phonemes in pencil. Clap. 4 phonemes in clap. K, l, a, p. Spring. Five phonemes in spring. Here they are. S, p, r, I, ng, ng. Queen. I have 4 phonemes in queen. K, w, e, n, queen. What if that was a picture of a card? How many phonemes in the word card? 3 phonemes in card. K, r, d, card. And the last one, book. 3 phonemes in book. B, k, book. All right. So phonemes, individual units of sounds. Phonemes it's important that we can identify phonemes in words because we need that when we're reading and we need it when we're spelling. So what exactly do our kids need to be able to do? To spell, they need to be able to segment a word. So if we have the word bug, we want them to be able to say bug. The sounds I hear in bug are b, g. And that's going to help them then when they're trying to write or when they're trying to spell words. I have to be able to segment or take a word apart to be able to spell. I also need to be able to go from sounds to the word. And so I want them to be able to blend also. So we have to be able to recall phonemes. So if I have m, a, p, can I come back and say map? Right? We want kids to be able to then blend those words together. When I encounter a new word, a word that I don't know, I have to be able to figure out the sounds and then blend them back together to be able to read the word. So blending sounds and segmenting sounds, putting sounds together, taking sounds apart, are necessary for kids to be able to read and kids to be able to spell. So let's clarify some of that terminology then, some of the terms we use. So we talk about phoneme segmentation. Phoneme means sound. Segment means break it apart. So we have breaking apart sounds. Phoneme segmentation, the ability to hear a word and give its individual sounds, its individual phonemes. So hill, okay? Hill. So do the sounds in the word pop. Pop, okay? That's segmenting. Now blending, you'll hear it called phoneme blending. Phoneme means sound, blending means putting together. So phoneme blending, sounds going together. Phoneme blending is the ability to hear a word that's broken up and being able to put it back together to combine the phonemes. So if I say g, can you say bug? Okay, so I'm going to give you these three sounds and I want you to tell the word s, n. And the word is sun. All right, phoneme segmenting, phoneme blending. Then you'll hear about phoneme manipulation. Again, phoneme means sound. Manipulation means either adding sounds, taking sounds away, or moving sounds within a word. So an example of a phoneme manipulation task. Say the word farm. Now say it without the f. And you have the word arm, right? That's a manipulation task. I took a sound away. I was able to work with and manipulate the sounds in that word. All right, another manipulation task would be change the ah in hot to ah. Okay, what word do you have? Hat. All right, that's manipulating that vowel sound. So phoneme manipulation. Also within phonemic awareness, you'll hear about onset and rhyme. So the onset is the vowel, is the consonant sound. Let me back up. The rhyme, R-I-M-E, is the vowel and what comes with it in the syllable. The onset is what comes before the vowel. So your onset, the consonant sound that precedes the vowel sound in a syllable. So if I have the word cat, my onset is k. If I have the word scat, my onset is sk. Okay? My onset is what comes before the vowel. My rhyme, R-I-M-E, is the vowel and what comes with it in the syllable. Okay, so my rhyme, the vowel sound and what follows it in a syllable. Again, in the word cat, onset, k, rhyme, at. If I have a word like blast, the onset would be bull, the rhyme is asked. So tell me the onset in clap. Cl, cl is the onset. It comes before the vowel. It's the sounds that come before the vowel. Tell me the rhyme in clap. App. It's the vowel and what comes with it in the syllable. All right, so onset cl, rhyme is app. Word is clap. When we have kids who are struggling at the individual sound level, if I have a student that's struggling with, tell me the sounds you hear in the word clap, and they can't give me k, l, app, then I want to back up to onset and rhyme. So I'm going to see, can they give me the onset and the rhyme? Can they give me the cl, app? It's a bigger unit of sound, okay, that they might need that before they can get to individual sounds phonemic awareness. Okay, so when we talk about phoneme awareness, phonemic awareness, we're going to teach manipulation of phonemes in words. That was found to be highly effective at all grade levels, okay, with our big kids also. Phonemic awareness instruction. It's going to help our kids learn to read, going to help our kids learn to spell. Works for all levels of ability. And there's, according to the National Reading Panel, it improves our students' spelling, but the disabled spellers take a lot more intensive phonemic awareness work. The National Reading Panel also told us that students progress from oral phonemic awareness activities without any letters, then we move into adding letters, okay? That's important. They also recommended that you teach 1 or 2 types of manipulations at a time, not everything, okay? And that phonemic awareness can be taught in small groups or individually or whole class. This should look familiar. This comes from your phonemic awareness kit. All right, so I want to quickly walk through these different steps and what you might see a teacher doing at each of those different levels. So when we start with our less complex activities, we start with phoneme isolation, work our way up to phoneme deletion and manipulation, which is more complex. Phoneme isolation, activities that are looking for sounds. So when we say, when we have a student or when the teacher has a student say these words, duck, dog, doll, and then the student says, duck, dog, doll, and the teacher asks, what's the first sound you hear in those words? And they can tell you it's d. That's an isolation task, okay? You can do that for middle sounds. You can do that for ending sounds as well. Another thing you might observe teachers that are working on phoneme isolation, if they're using pictures, and we want students to be able to always name the picture, right? So I have a balloon, a flower, a horse, and a bell. Which 2 start the same? Balloon, bell, all right? I want them to be able to match that, to isolate that beginning sound and match those sounds. Or sometimes we might do it a different way. We might have them tell us all the names of the pictures. So we have a hot dog, a fish, a helicopter, and a book. And then the teacher might say, tell me the one that starts with, and they have to pick out those, okay? So those are phoneme isolation tasks. What about with our big kids, right? Do we have older students that still need to work at these levels? Yes. All right, we use our diagnostic and we find out that, oh my gosh, they don't even know their sounds. They can't pull off beginning sounds. They can't blend. They can't segment. So when we think about older students, these are just some tips, I guess. If you're going to use pictures, think about using content word pictures. All right, so if I am trying to match sounds or do initial sound isolation with older kids, I might pick some words out of their biology textbook. All right, and then use those words to help them with that sound identification. It's okay to have older kids finger segmenting. A few years ago, I worked with a junior high and a high school who were starting to use the phonics boost and phonics splits. And I had some reservation, like, do you really think kids are going to be able to do this? Do you think you're going to get a 10th grader to do this? And we weren't sure how they would respond. And you know what? They did it. I mean, it just became habit. They didn't complain or gripe. It was just, they just did it and it helped them. So it's okay to do this. Move it and say it, where we actually have kids that have tiles and are moving tiles, that multi-sensory moving tiles to represent sounds. Big kids will do that, right? I've seen high school kids, I've seen junior high kids actually doing that. All right, so it's okay. We can still teach phonemic awareness with our older kids. If we look at that next step on your continuum then, syllable blending and segmentation. I like to, with syllables, I usually just use sticky notes with syllables. All right, so I want them, if I have the word pumpkin, okay, I want them to be able to go pumpkin, pumpkin. All right, if it has 3 syllables, 3-syllable word, we might have them move tiles, okay? What about for older kids? If we're teaching syllable segmentation with older kids, we want them, a big thing with older kids is multisyllabic words. They have those great big words that have lots of syllables. So having them be able to break that word apart into syllables is important. So make sure that they're getting them into the correct number of syllables, that they're breaking that apart correctly. make sure that they're pronouncing each syllable correctly. We want them to move from one-syllable words into multisyllabic words, okay? And we want them to be able to orally segment a syllable, each syllable, before they put them together to make a word. So if we have a big word, a multisyllabic word, like let's do segmentation. I want, with older kids, I might even do it with what we call syllable boards or even just sticky notes, but I want them to be able to do segmentation. I want to make sure that they can segment that into the correct syllables, and then I want to teach them how to decode each of those syllables. Onset rhyme, blending, and segmenting. I like to use a little sticky note and a big sticky note when we're doing onset and rhyme. All right, it looks kind of like this. So I have, if the word is clap, I would have cl, app, and then I would go back, clap, or cl, app, clap. All right, clap. What about onset rhyme for older kids? Can you do that with older kids? Absolutely. All right, usually if they have, with older kids, we're starting to teach them to recognize some patterns in words, like some blends or common patterns that go together. So if they can decode or if they can sound out 3-sound words, but they're struggling like with a 4-sound word. If they can do cap, but then when I try to do clap, they can't get that blend, that cl in there, then I might do an onset rhyme, cl, app. Some notes for older kids then with onset and rhyme. When we teach older kids onset and rhyme, they don't have to hold so much in their memory. So if they start to recognize that CL as a cl, then they don't have to hold as much in their working memory. It helps them with their spelling as well as their figuring out words when they're reading. Blending and segmenting individual phonemes. All right, we do a lot of multisensory work with blending and segmenting. So if you're in a classroom and you see teachers that are finger stretching or that are arm blending, some teachers even do blending and segmenting by using their head, their shoulders, their waist, their knees, and their toes, where they put a sound on each of those parts. So whole body blending, those are all good multisensory things that are working on the phonemic awareness skills, the individual awareness of sounds in blending. So this is what arm blending would look like. All right, so I would say the word is mat, and I would want the student to do mat. Always, 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 we want kids to come back and recode the word. Always come back and have them say the word, okay? So if you're in classrooms observing and you see this kind of instruction, they're working on blending phonemes, okay? Lots of teachers that you'll observe use either tiles or cubes, moving it and saying it, getting it multisensory for that, blending and segmenting. We've looked at some using finger tapping to do that as well. I like to do this, but there are teachers that prefer to do this, and it accomplishes the same thing. The reason I like to do this is because I like to go, the student, to see me going left to right with sounds. So I'm doing the sounds just as they're seeing it in print. So blending and segmenting instruction for older kids, use multisyllabic words, teach them to blend and segment each syllable, okay? All right. So this question, what if they're reluctant? What if you have older kids and they're like, no way, I'm not doing that, okay? I'm going to be very honest. I have never seen that, and I have a whole lot of junior high and high school teachers that are doing this kind of instruction, and the kids are doing it. So I think what makes the difference with those older kids is the teacher themselves, right? When you have a teacher who is enthusiastic about it and demonstrating and modeling it, they'll buy into it, all right? If the teacher's up there doing it, they buy into it. Some kids, I haven't seen us have to do this, but in the literature it will tell you that if you have kids that are reluctant, they can just tap on the table or even tap on their leg instead of doing this, okay, if you run into that reluctance. All right. Manipulation, we've already talked about adding sounds, taking sounds apart, and manipulating sounds, okay? So you can use colored tiles, you might use sticky notes, any of those multi-sensory things. You might see teachers using those to help manipulate or to add sounds, delete sounds, or move sounds around in words. Okay, when we add print, it is no longer phonemic awareness. Okay, it becomes phonics instruction. So when you add print, it's no longer phonemic awareness. That gets into phonics instruction. So that is, we will get into that at our next time, what it looks like when we add print, when it becomes phonics instruction. All right, so that is just kind of a little bit of background knowledge on phonological awareness, all about sounds, and phonemic awareness, the awareness and the conscious awareness of individual sounds in words and how important that is for our kids as readers and writers. Okay, we have a few minutes left here. I guess we don't have very many, so I would open it up for questions. But I just want to remind you here of a few things in your kit. So let me, okay, remember your phonemic awareness kit. All right, and within your phonemic awareness kit, your start here. Do you see that okay, Lori? Okay, so within your phonemic awareness kit, we start here with our purple folder. Our blue folder is going to be our decision making, okay? Your green folder is your diagnostic. A few reminders about that diagnostic. If you're using that phonemic awareness assessment, remember to read the directions before each task. So you don't have to do every task. You go on to the next task based on how well they did on the previous task. So task 1, task 2, everybody does. When you get to task 3, if they can blend at the phoneme level, you don't have to do the onset rhyme and the syllable, okay? If they're less than 80% at the phoneme level, then you want to go on and do the onset rhyme. If they're less than 80% on onset rhyme, go on and do the syllable level, okay? So just a couple reminders about that. If you want more work with the diagnostic piece, the routines, or the practice activities in your kit, schedule a time with us, all right? And we can sit down and we can go through we can go through every piece of it and practice, okay? All right, we're out of time for this first one. Thank you for listening. I promise we'll get better each month, all right? Have a great day.